Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesday. It's September 2nd, 2025. We're very glad you're with us today. Please note this event is being recorded, and the recording will be put on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. For everybody who's on Zoom, we encourage you to put in your name, position you're looking for, put in your LinkedIn address, put in your email account. Let us know how we can help you. If you've got target companies or if you have companies you can help others with, put all the information in the chat window. This is a great opportunity to connect with everybody else who's all on the call today. Expand your connections because you never know who will be able to help you today. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morse. Back in 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched careerusa.org to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I always have copies with me. Since 2007, I've led the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I'll tell you about an upcoming program we have coming up this Friday at the end of this session. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. Don't wait until you have an interview to schedule an interview. Schedule an interview now. Practice early, practice often. For more information, you can just go to dallaspitcrew.com. Well, we have 4 outstanding speakers who talk about LinkedIn on a monthly basis. They rotate through. They each talk about LinkedIn from a little bit different point of view. Today, our speaker is Locke Alderson. He's a career consultant. He's been recruiting for many, many years. I won't tell you how many because that's up for Locke if he wants to admit that. And today he's going to talk about how to use LinkedIn for job hunting strategies to get results. So Locke, thank you very much for being with us, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Jeff. Let's see if I can get this to work now today. I think we're up, Jeff.
Yes,
Can
you
see
are.
that?
You got it.
Great. I'm going to thank you for Jeff for inviting me again. Jeff and I have known each other for at least, I'll say more than 10 years. Okay. His book, if you haven't read it or gotten it, is one of the best I've ever read. And I've probably read close to 100 different books on job hunting and resumes and HR, the whole process. I know I got started back when I was originally looking for a job. I've been laid off at least 5 times in my career. At least one of those when I came from California to Texas. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. We had 2 new kids, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and came to Dallas and got a job. Got laid off after about 9 months. But one of the things that always has helped me through those times of layoff has been looking to the scripture and looking to the word. And I'll be sharing some verses of scripture as we go along. A number of times that we've had that. But when I came from Texas, I came to Texas from California. I actually interviewed with 19 companies. Not to get discouraged for you, that's actual interviews. And during those interviews, I had 16 that said no, 2 that said, we'll get back to you, we're still interested, and 1 that said, we'd like to have you come to work for us, made me an offer and moved me to Texas. So that's kind of my background, if you will. There's some of my history there that you can see on that. Starting in about 2001, I got involved with those in job and career transition, doing that as a volunteer for 12 years before Mullen International, an outplacement firm out of New York, called me and said, we need 40 new consultants in 60 days to be on board. And I was one of those that they tapped to try it because I've been a volunteer for 12 years. They said, let's try it for 90 days on contract. Well, that contract lasted for 4 years and 90 days. So that's kind of my background. Mullen International sold out to Lee Heck Harrison after the change of the contract. They lost their funding for that. At least the funding was changes to how the biggest client took care of things. So that's kind of a little bit of my background. You can see there, my email is up there on that. It'll be at the end as well. If you would like a copy of the slide presentation, just drop me a note, say, send me the slides, and I'll be happy to do that. There's some bonus material that I don't cover that's covered by the other speakers in the panel, but that's there for you to look at as well. But again, one of those verses of scripture that's been helpful to me is, blessed be the Lord, day after day, he bears our burdens, from Psalms 68:19. And job hunting is like a relationship. We have a number of relationships in our real life. I know our preacher at church preached on that on one Sunday. He said that it's the relationships that we have are like that. Job hunting is one of those, and it involves showing up, getting found on LinkedIn is what we're going to talking about today in your profile, and then opening up what you've done and how well you've done it. You're telling your story online, because what recruiters and hiring managers want to know is, do you have the skills and experience to do the job? Can you do the job, and will you fit with our culture? So those are the questions that recruiters and hiring managers often ask. If they don't ask you, they're at least in their mind. So one of the questions I want to ask you is, why are you using LinkedIn? Is it because somebody told you it's a good source and you've had success with it before? Because I've had people that have been through LinkedIn job hunting 2 or 3 times and found a job each time. If your goal is to be found on LinkedIn, where a recruiter or hiring manager does a search and looks for your background, the first part of the presentation is going to address that. How do you optimize your LinkedIn profile? LinkedIn actually got started as a tool by salespeople, for networking among salespeople. Recruiters quickly found out about it and started to log on themselves. And now it's the #1 tool in the recruiter's toolbox. It's used by over 1 million people worldwide, and probably about 150 million, or maybe 100 million in the United States. So that's one of the things that they do. Again, we're going to be talking about LinkedIn. Your profile and headline, the open to work section, your dashboard and your about sections, your professional work history, your skills and endorsements, and how do you optimize your profile, and what do recruiters search for, another section, and searching for jobs, some alerts and job filters, and some homework for you. Well, part of that that you're going to look for, what does your LinkedIn profile look like? What does it attract hiring managers and recruiters' attention? Because that's the thing that you want to find out, is if it's doing the job, because first impressions are vitally important. It's said that recruiters look at resumes in 6 to 10 seconds before they move on to the next one. They'll set them aside to look at again or in the reject pile. Kind of the same thing happens with LinkedIn profiles. They're looked at probably for 6 to 10 seconds before the recruiter goes on to the next profile. So what is it about profiles that get people's attention? Well, it starts with that. And you can see one of my earlier profiles. You have your name field on there. You have your photo that's there, and you want to have a good headshot. Can be, mine is in a shirt and tie, but at least to be looking professional. You don't want to wear you're raising a beer stein at Oktoberfest. That's not the one to have. The background photo or banner photo that's there, you can have that. This is from a cruise that I did in the Caribbean. A follow-up is on my background photo on LinkedIn as it is on this presentation. You want to have your name. What is the name that you go by? Make it easy for the recruiter or the hiring manager to get in touch with you. My legal name is John Locke Alderson, John Locke Alderson Jr. My father was a John. My father is a John. So when the telemarketers call, I play with them and ask, which John do they want to speak with? I usually want to speak to John Alderson Sr. And I said, well, you're about 20 years too late. He passed away a number of years ago. So make it easy for them to contact you in that regard. Below your headline, below your name, you have your headline. You have about 220 characters. This is an earlier version of the resume, and at that time, they limited it to 120 characters. So that's the information that you have. You see some other things there, the location that I'm in, the number of connections I have, my contact information. You're about to open to work section is the other thing that's there. In this case, I'm open to work, but only limiting it to recruiters. There are 2 options with your open to work, and we'll touch on those in a minute. But it all starts with your profile. So how long has it been since you updated your profile? The worst thing that you can do is neglect your profile so it looks like an old rusty car because of neglect. Because activity on LinkedIn is one of the factors that they add together when the searches are done. They add up all the factors in your different sections of your profile, and activity happens to be one of those that they toss in as well. So you have my attention. You have that 6 to 10 seconds. What do you see in my background there? Well, you notice that I've switched the open to work to open, so everybody on LinkedIn can find it, and it offers you some opportunities. But what else do you see there? You may have noticed that I have one of the groups that I'm in is listed there. My university for my undergraduate is there from Texas A&M. And yes, I'm an Aggie. I'm also a Berkeley grad from the University of California at Berkeley. So those are just some of the things that you see when you do that. Okay, but we're going to talk about your completing your profile. What is it like to have a complete profile? Because that's what you want to do. Each section completed, all those values add up to the score when a search is done on each of the fields that's in your LinkedIn profile. You want to use a professional headshot and a banner background. The headshot that you do can be a selfie, but if you do a selfie, make sure that you don't have any glare, that you got a good clean background as well. The headline, you want to use the job title of the position that you're applying for. If you don't, LinkedIn will be so gracious and will select the title of your last job as the one to put in your headline. The open to work section allows you to list additional job titles and some other information particularly valuable to you if you're looking to relocate. Your about section, it used to be called the summary, is an overview of your career and should highlight your accomplishments and your keywords from your profession. In your about section, you want to have your key email address, your contact information, your phone number on the first line of your about section. If we're not directly connected and it's not there, I may not be able to contact you, even though you may have a perfect profile for the job I'm trying to fill as a recruiter. The experience section, you want to have your job title. And if you have an unusual job title, I've worked for companies where they've used some of those unusual job titles, like member of technical staff 3, really doesn't say anything. When I was with Oracle Corporation, I was looking for consultants. And Oracle consultants, they have about 30,000 consultants. And there are some ways to differentiate those consultants. But again, that's the title that they use on Oracle and Oracle for job titles. You want to have that. If it's an unusual title, spell out the more generally used title in parentheses, if you will. You also want to have a description of your duties and results and use some keywords from your profession. Okay, your skills need to be on there from your profession. You have I think it's up to 100 skills that you can list, and I'll show you how to find some if you don't know how to do that. And endorsements for you, your education, award, certification, and professional development. What have you been doing to keep your skills current since you got that degree? And some recommendations from former coworkers and bosses, like a letter of recommendation. I'm taking a break. Another verse of scripture. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future, from Jeremiah 20:11. So I'm looking at your headline, moving down a little bit. Does your headline really tell who you are? Does it identify what you do? And is it a grabber? Does it get people's attention? So let's take a look at some sample headlines. Nothing wrong with any of these, except, and these are all ones that I've seen on different profiles over the years. And I've been on LinkedIn for about 20 years now. Again, unemployed or retired, seeking new opportunity, all possibly true, but not in the most positive light to describe you. Same thing with formerly a VP of finance. Again, those are true, but people are going to ask the question, well, if you were a VP of finance, how long have you been out of work? That's a question that recruiters do ask in their minds as a criteria to look at candidates. Experienced digital design engineer goes a little bit further. Social media strategist and content manager seeking an opportunity has experience with print and digital media, public relations, marketing, and corporate communications. The next couple are pretty short and succinct. Again, these were done to get them on the screen, one screen at a time. Supply chain, procurement, or purchasing. Again, it has some buzzwords, and if the recruiter is looking for those, you may scan further on your profile. Okay. But those are just some ones that are on there. This is something I picked up from somebody else, and this is how you can amplify and expand on your resume, on your headline, using an adjective, and use titles and what value that you bring to company, and some examples. Again, this is available in the packet if you want. Just send me an email at lockealderson@gmail.com. Another thing that you could do is to test your headline. This is mine that you see, but that email, that URL link at the bottom of headlinesharethrough.com will give you some value about your profile. That's my original profile when I tested it. My overall score was 55, 65 for engagement, and 55 for impression. When I made some changes like this, my scores jumped up, overall score to 78. My engagement score didn't go up much, 72, and my impression score 72, 76 as well. some pretty significant points, but that's something that you can do with your LinkedIn profile headline. Here's some more headlines. Again, they're more descriptive, adding some of those adjectives that I mentioned, increasing productivity in a highly regulated industries. Again, give some more information to the people, because as you see, when we get to the searches, you'll see that there may be maybe a couple of thousand people that have that. So you want to be able to identify some things like that. IT project manager with experience in ITIL, Scrum Master, and Agile, able to explain high tech to customers and deliver projects on time. Again, those explanations that you see there bridge the gap between techies and management. Those are valuable, having worked in the consulting industry with the software at Siebel and at Oracle Corporation. Here's some other headlines that you can look at. And these are just some examples to give you an idea of what you can do with your headline. And think about your headline as a movie marquee. If they don't see what they're looking for in your headline, they may move on to the next profile that they're looking at. Here's another verse of scripture that has encouraged me. You will be in perfect peace, those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord himself is the rock eternal. I know there have been times in my search when I've gotten discouraged, particularly after interviews, and you thought you'd nailed it, and you get that note or that email or that call that you didn't get the job or weren't selected to go on to the next round of the interviews. Again, why use the open to work? This is part of what it is. It's that banner from about 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And again, what recruiters are looking for is they filter searches by location. And this is how they do that, is by that and by the location. I have Plano, Texas on there. They'll do algorithm in LinkedIn, does the search and uses that, knows how to use that for distances. But when you use open to work, this is what the options that you have there. Again, these are titles that you can do, and you can have up to 5. Again, I've had executive recruiter, professional recruiter. I started to add career counselor or career consultant. You notice it has some artificial intelligence with a drop-down menu that you can select from. If the title that you want to use is not there when you try to enter it, it's not in LinkedIn's library of titles. It gives you the option to show where you want to work, on-site, hybrid, or remote. Again, you can work at more than one. And locations that you're interested in. This is where you can add those out of state, out of your area locations if you're willing to relocate. And where are you in your search? This makes it easy for the recruiter to identify where you are. And recruiters like low-hanging fruit. Somebody who is actively looking is more likely to respond than somebody who's casually browsing through the situation. Another area of your profile that you may not be aware of is your analytics on your homepage. Again, you can see that the number of post impressions that you've had in the last 70 days, how many people have actually viewed your profile in the last 90 days, how many followers that you have, and the number of appearances that you had in the previous week. So those are just some ideas of how you can track how you're doing on LinkedIn. You can also use the featured sections to display samples of your work. I've got my PowerPoint presentations that I've done like this one are listed there. I have those. You can also list presentations you've done, postings that you've made, blogs that you've authored, books that you've authored, articles that you may have published. And my son uses it to actually use his profile. I mean, not his profile, but his portfolio that he does. He's a motion graphic designer. Other people in advertising also have copies of their ad copy, and they call that their portfolio. You can also post your profile, I mean, your resume there if you want, although I don't counsel that because that resume is kind of static, meaning that it's cast in concrete. It may not be the resume that you want to use when you apply for the job. Again, let's move on to the About section. It used to be called the Summary, and this one is a little bit longer than I normally recommend that somebody use. They have their email contact information on the first line like this one. Again, that gives you some advantage. You have over 2,000 characters to play with in your About section. You want to keep your paragraphs usually 3, 4, 5 lines maximum with sentences and then follow it up with bullets. I like that, and I'll show you some of those in my particular one. This is particularly good because it highlights using bold some of the things that are important. It also uses an acronym down there at the bottom, FP&A, which stands for Financial Planning and Analysis. And those who recruit accounting and financial people, they know what that is usually. But this explains what it is. So if you use an acronym once, explain what it is the first time before you go ahead and use it again. Here's some other sample summaries. Now you can use your summary or the About section. You can use it in first person. Generally speaking, on resumes, you use third person. You know, I'm grateful partner of many world-class and award-winning companies in executive coaching and leadership. Mentions the key competencies that they've done in coaching, training, talent development, career and transition solutions, and also some of the companies that they've worked for, at Disney and at the other things that they've done. Again, I'm a strategic, creative, hands-on marketer with a passion for opportunity technology creates in business. Okay, some of those words, if you use them alone in a resume, would tend to be viewed as fluff without the chance to expand on those and give an example. But those are just some ideas about summaries that you can use in your about section. This is your experience section. This happens to be from my profile. Again, you want the job title, your company name and dates, and then your duties and responsibilities. Limit them to 3 lines, because more than 3 to 5 lines, because more than that, they tend not to get read. I've read whole paragraphs of 8 to 10 lines and several paragraphs on a page about that. Again, those make it hard for anybody to read and understand. But I have that down there. I have 4 lines, I guess, on mine. I've got a summary. This happens to be from Amanda Gill, who was the director of recruiting at Oracle. But when I left there, retired, I just tossed that in as a recommendation, if you will, in the profile. But I also added some highlights, some accomplishments that I had as a recruiter. I was twice selected as recruiter of the quarter from among 50 recruiters, meaning I was the top performer with the most placements. And I was selected from one year to go to the annual club. I think there are 2,000 or 5,000 in the consulting organization, and the top performers were asked to go to a club in the Bahamas. So that's just what some of the things that you can do with your profile in terms of the employment section. Other things that you can do that LinkedIn allows you to do now is to add additional sections. Again, if you're out of work, one of the things that you must do is to add a section for your job hunting. And I'll show you what that looks like. You can also add experience for your volunteer experience now. Originally, when I did my profile, I included my volunteer experience in my actual profile in the about section, in the employment section. You can add for projects. I know as a recruiter at Oracle and at Siebel, many of the people I got resumes from had worked in consulting, so they would list a page for every project that they may have worked on, giving all the details about it. So let's take a look at now an out of work selection, a current position. This shows a software developer looking for a full-time slot, and particularly in the financial services industry. And you can miss several industries. You can miss location. Note again the intelligence that they're starting to type in Dallas, but there's also a Dallas, Georgia, and a Dallas, Oregon. So you need to complete those as well. If you complete these kind of sections with having this a complete resume with your history, you're more likely to get connection requests. You're more likely to have profile views, and you're more likely to receive messages. Again, that's statistics that LinkedIn keeps on those kinds of things. Again, the thing I mentioned, adding a project, I just added one for me when I was a program manager for the Dallas-Fort Worth Staffing Management Association as the program director, lining up speakers for that. But that's how you can do that. You have amplification. You can add a lot more information than that. Let's move on now. Let's take a look at your skills and endorsement section. Again, used to be 50. Now you can include up to 50, after 100 skills to organize your skills and display them. And LinkedIn usually selects 2 or 3 now for you and puts them on your profile. Again, if you don't select for them, LinkedIn will do it for you. And those may not be the ones that you want to look at. But again, how do you go about finding your skills if you're uncertain about what they are or how many you have? Well, this is something that I found recently. It's Career Explorer. And again, the URL is there to explore that. You can enter in the title that you have and skip down below. You could go to skip to the second page of that one you see right there. And when you do that, this is what comes up, what it actually looks like. They have about 150 job titles, and it breaks out the skill listings for a project manager in this particular one, and how likely you are to match that with the skills that you have. But those are the skills listed that you can list on your profile as well. Now let's go ahead. Are your skills organized for maximum impact? One of the things that you want to take a look at and be aware of is that you can change those. And that's one of the ways that you can refresh your profile is to reorder them. I reordered mine last Friday, I think, when I got home from a trip that I was on and preparing for this talk. But let's take a look at that. This is what it actually looks like. So what do you do to change those? You see those 3 dots up there. Well, if you click on those 3 dots, it allows you to reorder and your skills and endorsements. And what you want to do with that is come over here, hold your cursor down on the the 4 bars there, and you can drag and drop to the location that you want to have. And that'll allow you to refresh your skills that you have. Okay. And again, it allows you to have, I have only got 49 listed on this one because it used to be 50, and now you can have up to 100. But by reordering those, it allows a credibility for you in terms of what you're looking for. The next thing that I want you to do is optimizing your profile. Take a look at some of the other people when you do a search for your category. I did a search for recruiter in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Notice that there were 26,000, that are actually over 30,000 now, people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that have recruiter in their profile, in the about section, or in the work experience section. If you're not found in the first 10 screens, that's 100 thumbnail sketches. You're probably not going to get involved in somebody's search. And so what do you want to do? Open those up, take a look at some of the keywords that they're using. If they apply to you and they're not in your profile, put them in your profile. Of course, add to that with what you want to do on that. Okay. Let's move on and take a look at job hunting using LinkedIn. I want to look at searches on searches on LinkedIn. How does LinkedIn do a search, and how do recruiters actually search? And there is a little bit of difference there. And then some recruiter search results, and then how about going to look for jobs? Okay. So what do recruiters actually look for in your profile? Again, each section of your profile has a value, and those are added up, including your activity. The ranking in the searches is based on the sum of those values. The highest scores appear at the top of the list of candidates that are sought. What are some of the areas recruiters are generally looking for? A match of job titles. That's the number one thing that I use, and most of the recruiters that I know use. I know there's some other speakers that say it should actually be keywords and skills. You can also find your keywords and skills in the job postings that you're applying for. They'll tell you what the requirements are. Generally, those are the skills that they're looking for in your profession. But those are some of the things that they can look for. They also look for the industries that you may have worked in and specific companies, and we'll take a look at that. So we'll look at some of the results. And there are some industries that are very specific about having experience in their industry or to get considered for those jobs. Another thing they'll look at is your education, your geographic location, and your current and prior companies. What's your pedigree and how long have you been there? Job hopping used to be one of those considered as a no-no on a resume, on a profile, but now length of service is not quite as important as it used to be, as long as you have a rational reason for why you changed jobs. And then, after they've looked at all those, actually the computer does it for them. They take a look at your summary and your experience. So let's take a look at a search result. This is a screen from from Kurt Vedemotter, used to be one of the speakers here, used to use LinkedIn and buy the recruiter package for that. That's a $10,000 seat license per year to have access to that 1 billion people on LinkedIn around the globe. There's another package called Recruiter Lite, and that's only $5,000 per seat per year, has access to all the people in the United States. But there are about 3 screens like this that input data. They could click through those, and by entering the data and checking the boxes on some of those, they can screen through those, in this case, 700 million people in about 30 seconds. So let's take a look at the results of a search. This happens to be a search on LinkedIn for a project manager. I consider a product manager, excuse me, I can't read what's on the screen. They're our senior product manager. So those are related. They're headquartered in the Seattle area, but we're considered somebody from down in San Francisco. They're looking for product management or product marketing. Those tend to be interrelated skill sets. And they were looking for companies in the Seattle area that they mentioned, Microsoft, Amazon, and Fluke, mentioned there as well. And schools, University of Washington is listed as one of those. For this one, they only had about 6,900 in the pool that they were looking at. 2,500 of them were following the companies. Come on. Okay. And 460 were actually following the company's brand or talent brand. And so those are what the thumbnail sketch actually looks like when a recruiter gets the results. And there are about 10 of those per screen. And let's take a look at another one. This is for a project manager in Chicago. This one had about 43,000, not surprising, in the Chicago metropolitan area. And again, but only 83 of those at this time were open to new opportunities. That's that open to work that I mentioned to you. Again, those 83 are the ones that the recruiters are going to tend to look at. because those are the ones most interested in finding a job right now. Again, notice the things that they had, the Chicago area, but they'd also check New York or San Francisco. Program manager was another one that they would consider because program and project work are often interrelated. And market, the different things that they've added, market entry, analytics, analysis, or some of the other keywords that they may have used on that. So how do you go about searching for jobs on LinkedIn? Actually, there are two ways. You can use the original search bar that's up in the, usually in the upper left-hand corner, or you can go over to the jobs icon that's there on the screen to use that for jobs. When you do that, the next thing that you can do, let's use the one for the jobs tab, is you can enter that. It gives you two options: enter the name of the job you're looking for, or the company or the industry, and the location. On your first search, if you haven't put in a location, it defaults to the United States. So you want to put in something in the location where you're looking, and I'll show you an example of what that means. Just a second. This was for a sales rep. By not putting anything, it defaulted to the United States. In this case, there were about almost 200,000 jobs that were shown. Again, that's many more than most people can take a look at in a couple of weeks. So the other things that you want to do is you want to use some of those filters that I mentioned to you. We'll take a look at those across the toolbar there at the top of the green jobs tab. This was another search for a senior accountant in Plano. Again, this one narrowed it down by using the mileage area, the location there at 25 miles. That's the standard default setting on most job boards because applicants have taught recruiters, I don't want to drive more than 20 to 25 miles to work. Recruiters said, okay, I won't look for people outside that radius. And so job boards, when they came along, used that as a default setting as well. You can narrow that down to 15 or 10 or as low as 5. You can up it to 50 if you were in the Dallas area and living up in Denton. Again, that's more than 25 miles, so you may want to put it a little bit larger search area. Again, this one had, again, by narrowing it down, it had that. Another one that you want to take a look at. And let's take a look at the next one that we have, was for quality assurance. I gave this as a presentation, part of a presentation, American Society for Quality Assurance and their quarterly meeting here in Dallas. I just used the words quality assurance because that was the audience that I was talking to. But again, most of the people in the audience weren't at the lower levels, and this included all of those lower level positions in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. About 1,922 to be precise. Again, by adding the word manager at the end of that, it narrowed it down by 274, reducing it by slightly over 90%. Just some ways that you can do it. Another one that we want to take a look at is an executive assistant, again in Dallas, starting to have to add in Dallas because there's one in Georgia as well and one in Oregon. And if you don't fill those in, it will fill it in with a drop-down menu if you can, if you will. This is something else I want to show you on the jobs tab. If you click that, on the jobs, the down arrow there, you can go down to where it says groups. And if you click on that, it will show up groups because there are jobs within groups that do not appear on LinkedIn when you look for jobs on LinkedIn using the normal way, okay? Because groups can post jobs within the group. They're kind of an affinity situation where most people in a group have the same kind of background and interests. So those are the kind of people, when they list a job, they're looking for somebody like themselves in the group. And that's why they're there. But other ones, you can look by company. You can also look, you can go to a company website and do that on the company website, look for jobs there individually. And you can post, as we'll see with job alerts at a company. If you're interested in a particular company, go to the company and you'll do a job alert there. Okay. This is the filters that you have. This is the old screen about filters, but I like it because it has them all on one screen. Now it's on the right third of a page when you go to filters. Again, the most relevant is the way that they sort them, or most recent, or you can sort by. One of the things I recommend when you're looking for a search, if it's a very popular profession, and there are a lot of people applying for it, you want to use the past week. This one was for a recruiter in Dallas County. At the time when it was done, there were about 2,100 people looking for jobs in that area, the jobs that were available. By narrowing it down, you reduce it by almost by 2/3. Something that LinkedIn picked up from Indeed.com was the salary parameters that you can see there. They're not the most accurate salary parameters, but again, it gives you some idea what the salaries are. So if you were looking for a job above 100, there are about 83 of those 22,000 that were above 100,000 or above. You can use the easy apply function. I want to touch on that for a second. And that's a way that you can do that. If it allows you to upload your resume that you've tailored or customized to the job, I'd say it's okay. If it does not, it only uses your profile, that is not the way you want to apply for the job, because usually your profile is not fine-tuned to the point where it applies for a specific job and points out your exact experience in the areas that they're looking for. Again, notice here that it's also most job boards, the jobs that they post are full-time, but there are some jobs for contract positions, internships, part-time, temp positions, as well as volunteer. Because some people volunteer while trying to get into a profession. Also allows you to look by location here in the Dallas area. Again, I'm not interested in something that might be in Irving. That's a little bit too far away from where I might live, or Garland, or the opposite extremes of there. You can search by company, you can search by industry. Those are just some of the filters that you can use when you do a job search. Moving along, you can do, when you open up a job search, there's a button up there that says job alert on or off. If you move the radio button to the right, again, it allows you the option to select daily or weekly, and it will send you an announcement for any new jobs that are posted that match your criteria on a daily or weekly basis. Those usually come in between 7 and 8 in the morning. And while I'm not looking for a job, I've helped people, show them how to use LinkedIn and examples, and I still get some of the things for healthcare workers in Ashland, Oregon, where my wife has a friend, and we were up there on vacation last year and helped them showed them how to use LinkedIn for job hunting. Can also be, you can have them do it once a week if you're not serious about that. Lastly, we want to show up some homework for you. You want to have a complete resume, so go ahead and complete the sections there. Give some more details and information. Use your commonly used name that you have. If you go by a nickname, use that. Okay, you might want to put it in parentheses to show it is a nickname. Refresh your profile at least once a week. I mentioned about a freshness guarantee. Headline, use the job title or titles that you're looking for, and not including one defaults to your last job title. Use the open to work. Again, unless you're in a stealth mode, you may want to limit that to recruiters who are using the Recruiter Lite or recruiter software licenses from LinkedIn. Do list your phone number and email on the first line of your about section. Make it easy for us to contact you. Okay. The experience section, use the job title and duties and measurable results. Doesn't have to be anything long. We'll take a look at some of those as well. Performing your duties, add credibility to your experience, and use the keywords from your profession and search for yourself, see where you stand. Jeff, I'm going to switch gears and no, that's the bonus material that I mentioned to you. Okay, got it up. I think, Jeff, you could see my screen for LinkedIn.
No, right now I just see everybody's pictures. You probably need to share that screen. Here we go. Something's happening. Here we go. We're on
Okay.
LinkedIn.
Okay. What we want to do is somebody wants to give us your profile, your name, or so we can look at your profile or a job that you're looking for. We'll try and do those. And if you'll have to spell it out for me.
Okay, if you want us to look at your profile, just pop your name in the chat window. Here we go. Stanley. The last name is Kaminsk. There we go. Number 2, the first one on there.
You can give me the I, but we'll take a look at that. Okay. Okay. There's your whole profile. I'm going to move that out of the way. Okay. We're second degree connections, so I'm going to see if I can get hold of Stanley. Stanley, I can't reach you from that way. Okay. Well, let's go down and take a look at your profile section, your about section. Notice it's not there. I can't reach you there. See if it's in his about section at all. No, I don't have a way to get hold of Stanley.
Stanley,
Stan,
shame, shame.
shame, shame, shame. Put it. I know Jeff. When you see Jeff's profile, he has his banner shot. Has got his actually his phone numbers there. That's another way that you can do it as well. Okay, but let's take a look at the other things. You've got about you construction and engineering leader specializing in project management. What are some of the titles of the jobs that you're looking for, Stanley? Those are the things that you want to use. You have used about 120 characters. You have at least another line and a half that you can play with. So that's what you want to have, because remember what I said, recruiters search by job title. That's the first thing that they enter in. And those titles are there in your headline. They're also down there in your about section, okay? And they're also there when you get down to your experience section. Okay. Again, director, I would use the titles that you have, that you developed a facility and those kinds of things as well. You have telecommunications, might be another one that you want to use, just to mention that. Electronics, manufacturing, assembly. Goodman Networks is another telecommunications company. Sprint. So you have a lot of experience there, but I don't think telecommunications was mentioned in your headline. No, it's not there. But Dallas has still got a lot of telecommunications companies that are available. That's one suggestion that I have for you as well. Okay. You mentioned construction and engineering. Those should be in your headline as well. You have engineering and back. That's good. They're in your headline. Again, that headline is the first thing that people see. Again, you've also mentioned some of the technologies that are used in telecommunications with a 4G and 5G.
No, that last comment, no, go back to that last line in this about section. Contact me through this profile if you wish to connect.
How?
People are not going to do that.
Well, how do they do that, Stanley?
A
You
recruiter's
haven't
going,
given them a way to do that.
yeah, the recruiter's going to want to call you up or send you an email. They do not want to use InMail through LinkedIn.
Okay.
What about on the top of the page where it says contact details? I mean, is that's not good enough? I need to put
Stanley,
it in
because
the,
we're not first degree connections, okay? You have not opened up your connections in your security settings to second and third degree people. So that's the reason we like to put it in the headline, I mean, in the banner shot at the back or in the about section on the top line. What I'm doing now is moving down to look at your skill section, okay? I would change out team leadership is not typically one of the top criteria that recruiters use for looking for people. So there must be something else. What are the top ones that you want to do? So go, when you have that pencil in that section, you go to look at your profile and click on the pencil, and it will allow you to find those three dots. Click on that dots and allow you to reorder those, because you have at least 50 skills that are there. And let's see what some of those are. Okay, project management could be one that you have, strategic leadership, strategic planning, operations management, network engineering. Again, it depends, but go in and change the order of those periodically, because that's a way to refresh your profile. And again, by refreshing your profile, it means to the computer that it's a fresh resume, a fresh profile. Okay? It doesn't seem logical that way, but that's the way it is. Okay, other questions? Stanley,
can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, I appreciate the feedback. I mean, I'll make some of those changes. I wasn't aware that you could set it to open the contact information the second and third.
Yeah, well, again, the way that you could do that in your settings, but it's just easier to put it in the top of your about section.
Yeah, I'll make that change too. I wasn't aware of that, so I'll
That's a
definitely
quick
make that
change as
change.
well.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah,
somebody
just put
else
in a
that you
call,
want?
put in a call to action. Let's connect and give them a
Yeah.
phone number and email address. And hopefully you're using a separate email account for your job search, so you're not mixing it up with your personal emails.
Yes, I am. So, yep, I'll make that change right away. I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Okay, let's try somebody else, Jeff.
Okay, the next one up is Marie,
I'm sorry.
Marie. And the last name is Mathai.
Okay. we're
Marie,
from,
is this you?
huh?
Marie, is
Yeah,
this you?
yes, this is me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're
Okay.
first degree connections. Again, she doesn't have a picture there. That's always a good thing. People that have pictures are more likely to get contacted. Okay, just for informational purposes.
Okay,
And it's a personal preference, whether you do it or not. I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying that's easier that way. And people tend to look at pictures and make a decision. So if you do, use a professional headshot. You don't have to
Okay.
go out and have one done by a photographer. You could do a selfie if you want, but make sure that there's no glare and you got a good background. Okay. She's got open to work as a quality engineer, which is great. Okay. I want to show that on there that she is okay to hybrid. Oh, my screen is acting up on me, folks. Sorry about that. Okay. And she's looking in the Dallas area. Okay. But she has quality engineer, quality control. Quality assurance is one that you might want to use as well as another title.
okay,
Again, what are
you
the
can
other
use up to
titles that you
5
use?
job
You have,
titles, so
okay.
use them.
Okay, in your headline at the top, quality engineer, semiconductor manufacturing, SPC, FMEA, root cause analysis, ISO 9000. You've used about 100 characters. You have 220 characters to play with. So you can play around with that some more and add some of the other job titles that you consider. Okay. A quality assurance manager, you've used engineer, which are you interested in being a manager? Consider a manager, supervisor. Okay.
Let's see your contact information since you're first degree.
She has her phone number in there and her email address. Okay, which is great. Okay. Let's take a look at hers and her situation. I want to look at her about section. Okay, you have 2,000 characters in your about section to play with. I would, in here, when you have your paragraphs, I'd add a line break or do an enter or carriage return so there's a blank line between each of those. That's a lot of
Okay.
verbiage to read.
okay,
Make it easy for the person to read. Her contact information is also at the bottom of her about section. Okay, I would tend to move that up at the top, even though you're open in terms of your contact information. We're directly connected. Okay.
all right,
Okay. Okay. For your 3 years and 9 months at TI this time around, okay, you've only mentioned quality control. What have you done? What were some of the accomplishments that you had there? Okay. Not the duties, which is the responsible for incoming quality control.
okay,
So what are some of the things, what are the projects that you may have worked on? What are the results of performing those duties in incoming quality control? You know, that you ensure that 90% or 100% of the incoming materials met qualifications. I mean, the chemicals, you know, were all tested. What kinds of things did you also do? Because you took a break there in high school as a high school teacher. You'd been with TI and I guess taken a break.
yeah,
I'd gone to Analog Devices, which is another semiconductor firm. I don't know whether that's up in Massachusetts or California. I mean, in Arizona.
no, it used to be called Dallas Semiconductor.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize Dallas Semiconductor had been purchased by Analog.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. I worked with Dallas Semiconductor way back when I was a recruiter.
oh, okay,
Many years ago. High school chemistry, you took a break there while you were out of work there. Okay.
Hmm.
12 years. Looks good. I was looking, I did want North Texas. Sorry about that. North Texas is a great school, but not what I was looking for on that. Okay. What I was looking for was your skills. Okay, quality
yeah.
control. That's the only one that you're showing. And the reason is because you've listed some other where you've done that, the endorsements that you've had, but you only have one skill listed. You should go to list some other skills, or you can list up to 100 that are in your skills area. Okay.
I thought I had more than that. I know.
Well, I'm not, this is what I see. I've just
Okay.
endorsed you, by the way, so.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the important thing about skills is a recruiter is going to do 2 things. They're going to put in a job title and then they're going to list 2 or 3 skills that they're looking for. So that's
Okay.
why it's really important to put a number of skills in on your
You have
LinkedIn.
the other one that you've listed is semiconductor fabrication processes. Again, processes, I would process engineer.
Oh, click on that. It says show all 40 skills.
Well,
Yeah,
Okay.
she's got
But
40
you
of
can
them.
reorganize the ed or quality control, semiconductor fab, manufacturing engineering. That's another title that you may want to put into your headline, because there are other companies that have manufacturing engineers.
Yes.
The analytical skills are something that you've done as well. There are companies looking for people with AI experience. Well, analytical skills are a part of AI these days. Okay, just some suggestions for you on that. Jeff, we have time for probably 2 more. Do we have somebody who wants to look for a job or want to look at their profile?
Well, I've got some more names if you just want to look at profiles.
Okay, go.
All right, next one is Christy, Kristi Grant, Grant. Last name in Coleman, Coleman. Here we go.
Oh,
Oops.
oops. Okay. We're first degree corrections. You've used about 120 characters. Learning and development. Training and development is another one. Organizational design, organizational development is another term that you may. Learning strategy, classroom instructor. What are some of the other titles that you have? Connecting learning. Okay. Some other things that you've done. Classroom instructor, technical instructor, other words, if that's what you want to do or part of that. Okay. We're connected, but let's take a look at your contact information. Again, you've just used your email. That's just okay. They can reach you that way, not as rapidly as picking up the phone. Open to work. She's got that. Learning and development, training and development. Open to volunteer for the cause. Again, I mentioned my volunteer experience is in my actual profile. She's got her contact information at the top of her about section. I'd add a phone number if you want to get contacted. There's your about section is too short. Let me see what else we've got in there. That's all I'm seeing, so it may not be there.
No, it's there.
Well, again, I'm just telling you what I'm seeing, and I'm just somebody looking at your profile.
Interesting. I've got like 3 paragraphs of it.
Here we go. Now I can click through there.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, great. Again, I might tend to shorten up those paragraphs to break the I am in that first one there, break it into 2 paragraphs. And what were some of the results of doing that experience learning and development, guiding teams? You know, when you conducted training classes, what was their success rate, or how was that measured? What were the metrics used in that? Contributed to mom improvements in customer service, performance metrics. What were they? Okay. Those are the kind of things that you want to talk about, and you can bullet or highlight those results underneath a paragraph. Okay.
So they're there, Locke. Maybe maybe I need to move it up more towards the top then.
No, just break these up into, okay, you've got I am, break it up into 4 or 5 lines, and then it includes, so what were some results or highlights or accomplishments that you had? You were Clifton strategies, responsibilities, realtor. Those are some things, topics. Okay, those are some of the things what are some of the results from doing the work that you did?
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. For some reason, my screen is acting up on me today. Okay. You've got a position listed. That's great. You might mention industries that you might be most accomplished with. Neiman Marcus, it could be retail. There's another thing, or hospitality, some other things that you've done there. But notice how that only 2 lines show, and then you have to click see more. Well, that's what I was looking for, was license and certifications. That's important. What have you done to keep your skills current? Those are what your license and certifications are. LinkedIn offers some training that's available, and you can get certified in a number of topics. Okay. These are the two topic ones that you have, learning management and LD strategy, learning and development strategy. Okay, are those the top two skills that you want to show to people? Because that's what shows up when they originally look at your screen. Okay, I'm looking at the others. Training and development, program development, or some other areas that you can look at there. So if there's some others that you would want to have, or those are the ones that are listed in the job for a training and development or learning and development specialist, those are the ones that you want to do by changing it without. I go in at the top of this section. There will be a black pencil over here. When you click on the pencil, there will be 3 dots. And when you go to the dots, there's a reorder and there's 4 lines over there and you can drag and drop down like that. Okay. Jeff, I'm beginning to run out of time. I'm more than willing to look at others.
Yeah,
Oh.
let's stop there and, you know, we'll look again next month when you're back with us in, October.
Okay.
Boy, I can't believe I'm saying October.
It is October already.
So, if you'd like to get hold of Locke's presentation, you can just send him an email to lockealderson@gmail.com. Tell him you'd like to have a copy of the deck today, and he will get that copy to you. Next Tuesday, our speaker will be Ruth Lipsky. She's going to talk about back to basics, making LinkedIn work for you. So join us next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. This Wednesday, the practice interview team is meeting in person. If you live in the DFW area, you can come join them. They've got 3 interviews scheduled, and you'll be able to pick what interview you'd like to sit in on to watch somebody else being interviewed. This is a great way to learn. You learn just as much by watching somebody else being interviewed as you do being interviewed yourself. If you live outside the DFW area or cannot join the PIC crew, we're recommending you watch session 5 of 13, how to analyze a job description. We talk about it for about an hour and 20 minutes about how to look at the job description, how to analyze it to make sure you're talking what you want. To find the link to watch this video, just go to the Career USA website and look for Wednesday where it says Interview Wednesdays Online. When you click there, it will take you to, it'll show you the link and you can watch that video at your convenience. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, we're doing open forum. The first Friday of every month, we talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. You've got questions about your job search, you know, come ask us, and everybody can offer their opinion, what they think, and hopefully guide you in your job search. If you'd like to join the Career DFW or careerusa.org LinkedIn groups, you're welcome to join one or both. I will take a look at your profile, and if your profile is not mostly complete, I will not let you join the group, because why are you on LinkedIn if you don't have a fairly complete profile? Because you want people to find you. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career USA YouTube channel. It'll be up there later this afternoon. If you subscribe to the channel, every time we post a new video, you'll find out about it. On the Career USA YouTube channel, I have 7 different playlists. So click on playlist where you see that green arrow, and then don't click on the video, because that'll pop up the last one it's posted. But down at the bottom where it says view full playlist, where that red arrow is, if you click there, then up will come a list of all the titles and dates, and you go back and watch any video from any of the subjects we've talked about. If you're not receiving emails about our workshops, if you didn't get the email today, you can join the Career USA mailing list. You can just scan this QR code and just send a blank email, or send a blank email to Career USA, the + subscribe at groups.io. You'll never be spammed, because I control the list, and we want you to be able to find out about upcoming programs along with the Zoom links. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Locke is a volunteer. All of our speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 15 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Locke, thank you very much.
Thanks
And
again, Jeff.
we'll see you in October. Everybody else, hopefully we'll see you later in the week.